The little girl ran through the rain barefoot, clutching a faded photograph against her chest. She stopped in front of a billionaire's black limousine, looked him directly in the eyes, and whispered something that made his body freeze. "Please, act like my dad for just 3 minutes." At first, the millionaire smiled awkwardly, but then she handed him the photo, and the color drained from his face. The storm had already flooded half the streets of Chicago when Ethan Cole stepped out of his luxury hotel. To the world, Ethan was untouchable, a billionaire investor, owner of multiple companies, a man who appeared on magazine covers smiling beside celebrities and politicians. But behind the expensive suits and flashing cameras, Ethan lived alone. Every night he returned to an empty penthouse. No wife, no children, no family waiting for him. And honestly, he preferred it that way. Or at least that's what he kept telling himself. That night, his driver held an umbrella over him as reporters shouted questions from behind security barriers. Then suddenly, a tiny hand grabbed his coat. Everyone turned. Standing there was a little girl no older than 8, soaked completely from the rain. Her shoes were torn. Her hands trembled from the cold. But her eyes looked desperate. Security immediately rushed toward her. "Get her away from him," one guard snapped. But before they could pull her aside, the little girl spoke. "Please," her voice cracked. "Can you pretend to be my dad for 3 minutes?" The guards laughed awkwardly. Even Ethan forced a small smile, confused by the strange request, but the girl didn't smile back. Instead, she slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out an old photograph. The moment Ethan saw it, his heartbeat stopped. It was a picture from 20 years ago. A younger version of himself stood beside a woman he hadn't seen in decades, Lena, the only woman he had ever truly loved. Rain poured harder around them as Ethan stared at the photo with shaking hands. "Where did you get this?" he whispered. The little girl looked down nervously. "My mom keeps it under her pillow." Ethan felt his throat tighten. He hadn't heard Lena's name in almost 20 years. Back then, before the fame and billions, Ethan was just a struggling young man trying to build a future. He and Lena had planned everything together. A small apartment, a family, a simple life. But when Ethan finally got the opportunity that could change his career forever, he made the decision that destroyed everything. He chose success over love. He told himself he would come back for her once he became rich. But by the time he returned, Lena was gone. No goodbye, no explanation, nothing. For 20 years, Ethan buried himself in money to avoid the guilt. And now, her daughter was standing right in front of him. "She's in the hospital," the girl said softly. "She keeps calling your name." Ethan's chest tightened. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emily. And your mother? She told you about me?" Emily nodded slowly. "She said you weren't a bad person." Those words hurt more than anger ever could, because deep down, Ethan knew he had failed her. The driver opened the limousine door, but Ethan didn't move. For the first time in years, money suddenly felt meaningless. "Why do you need me to pretend to be your dad?" he asked quietly. Emily wiped tears from her cheeks. "Because the doctors said my mom might not make it through tonight." Her voice trembled. "And I don't want her to feel alone." Silence filled the street. Even the guards looked away. Ethan felt something inside him break. Without another word, he followed Emily through the rain. The hospital was old and nearly empty. As they walked down the hallway, Ethan noticed how tightly Emily held his hand, like she was afraid he might disappear. When they finally reached the room, Ethan froze at the door. Lena looked weak, paler than he remembered, older, tired, but still beautiful. Machines beeped softly beside her bed. For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. Emily walked closer to her mother. "Mom," she whispered gently. "He's here." Lena slowly opened her eyes. The second she saw Ethan, tears rolled down her face. Neither of them spoke, because some pain becomes too deep for words. Ethan stepped closer to the bed, his eyes filled with regret. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Lena gave a weak smile. "You finally came back." Those 5 words shattered him completely. Emily climbed onto the bed beside her mother and smiled for the first time that night. Then she looked at Ethan. "Can you sit with us?" Ethan nodded. He sat beside them quietly as Emily placed her tiny hand into his. And for 3 minutes, they looked like a real family. No wealth, no fame, no business deals. Just two broken people, and the little girl who unknowingly brought them back together. That night, Ethan canceled every meeting, every interview, every flight, because for the first time in his life, he finally understood something money could never buy: time. And unfortunately, it's the one thing nobody can get back. Sometimes the people we abandon never stop loving us. They just learn how to survive without us. Thanks for watching. Please let us know in the comments section what you think about the story and the country you are watching from. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next video.